Hello, my name is Elliot, and this is my media evaluation for my short film, Centre Stage. In what ways does your media product use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? In our film, we have a former stalker who is the dead boy. We decided to use point of view shots where the killer emerged from the curtain, and this gives the sense to the audience that they are the killer at that period of time. This creates a more enigmatic atmosphere. The point of view shots are accompanied by heavy breathing.
How do you know? Because it's a legend. It's a legend. A legend.
And this emphasises the fact to the audience that they are in the killer's shoes at that moment in time. We did not use a classic big knife in our slash film. This challenges the conventions of famous slashers like Friday the 13th, Halloween and Scream, because all of these have some sort of knife or dangerous implement in them. We had the boy use his bare hands to kill off his victims, and this gave the murders a more personal approach. We also had the murders off screen, which left it up to the audience's imaginations to decide what happened to Chris when he's pulled off by the killer. We decided to film in the drama studio because our narrative is set at school. We chose this location because it is a big open space, very ominous, dark, and has spotlights and other aspects of lighting that we used in the making of our film. The drama studio is a very familiar environment to our audience, so they are easily able to relate to the characters. Our film avoids another convention of typical slashers by not having any smoking, drugs, sex or alcohol feature in it. Immoral acts like these are kind of what result in the character's death, because the killers in the films they use this as a reason to pick off their victims because of these actions. However, in our film, our killer does not go after people who do all of these things, but he goes after the people who picked on him and bullied him. He is more of a killer looking for revenge. I took this convention because I watched a slasher film called Tormented. In this film, Darren Mullet, the killer, returns from beyond to revenge the humiliations he was submitted to when he was alive. However, we do have an element of swearing in our film, but it is not completely obvious to the audience.
Bullshit.
We decided to have some swearing because our characters are 16, 17, and from the events that happen in the film, this would be their natural reaction to it. We chose to use a male antagonist in our film, which keeps to the conventions of typical ones, like Michael Myers in Halloween and Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th, so we followed what is typical that you see in slashers. After watching some famous slasher films like Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as a group we decided we wanted our killer in our film to be masked, because we believed that this hid their identity from their victims. We used a monotone drone in our film because, as a group, we believed that we wanted to stick to the typical conventions of famous slashers, so we added one because we thought it would create tension very well and very effectively. Although the convention of the final girl does not appear in our opening, in the full narrative of the story, this convention is used. We wanted to include this convention to follow what has already been done in famous slashers like Psycho and Halloween, and a more recent one, Tormented. As a group, we took a lot of influence from film noir. We saw a couple of extracts from films, and we were heavily decided that we definitely wanted to include some noir in our film. So we took a whole scene from our extract and made it black and white and adjusted the contrast to emphasise the noir element. How does your media product represent particular social groups? In our film, there are no particular gender, age, race or religion issues addressed. Our characters come across to be from a middle-class background, so they're not extremely rich or extremely poor. There are no fancy clothes or jewellery shown by them. This could show that it's not always the snobby rich kids who are picked off by the killer, it's just the normal, everyday teenagers. Unfortunately, there are no females in our film because it was impossible to film with them because there are no females in our group. All the characters are male, so this could show that men totally empower women because the women don't get any screen time whatsoever. What kind of media institution might distribute your film and why? I thought that we should use a very well-known American distributor such as Dimension Films, because in their history they have distributed some very famous slasher films like Halloween in 2007, Halloween 2 in 2009 and all of the Scream films from 1996 to 2011. Because Dimension Films is an American institution, I believe that our film will get much more publicity and be distributed a lot better because there is a lot more money available in the American film industry than is in the British film industry. I also believe that using a distributor like Dimension Films, our product will be able to reach a much wider audience than we would be able to if we had a British institution distribute our film. Who would be the audience for your media product? During the planning stages for our film, we were told to consider possible target audience groups. As a group, we decided that the audience for our film should be people of our age, so 16 or 17, because we believe that we could easily relate to them, and these people, this audience, would be able to relate easily to the characters in the film. We also chose this audience because this age group would be the typical age group you wouldn't usually see watching these types of films. You wouldn't see 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds typically watching slasher films. This audience is also used to a lot of horror because of films nowadays. There's such films as 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later, with a lot of violence and gore. And also games. We have Call of Duty or even Left 4 Dead, which are all based on violence. How did you attract or address your audience? Before creating our film, I composed a questionnaire about slasher films and gave it to 10 people for their feedback. The questions on this questionnaire included things like, do you think that slasher films are a good genre to have in the film industry, and what would you like to see in a new slasher film? The answers that we were given on these questionnaires all gave our group ideas on how to improve or change our film according to the answers that we were given. I also used an element of Web 2.0 because I uploaded our flashback scene to Facebook to receive feedback about it. I chose to use Facebook because our audience, 16, 17-year-olds, these type of people use Facebook every day, so I believed that we would get responses pretty much straight away to when I uploaded it. Also, during the editing process, I interviewed a few people on how we could improve our film. I sat them in front of our computer with our film on, and I recorded their reactions and asked some questions about our film. And going from this, we changed some of our film to go what the audience wanted. What have you learned about technologies from the process of constructing this product? Because I took media for GCSE, I was already familiar with the IMAX and iMovie HD, but in GCSE we were not taught a great deal about GarageBand, so in A-level media this was a very new thing to me. After editing the film and adding sounds from the iMovie, I moved on to using GarageBand, and this program is very simple to use, so I got the hang of it pretty much straight away. As well as iMovie, our class were also introduced to a new editing software called Final Cut Express. This was totally new to me. I'd never even seen it before A-level, and just looking at it seemed like a very daunting. LiveType was also another new program introduced to A-level media students. We had never used it before. This program basically allows you to create any type of titles or text you want and add it basically wherever you want onto your movie. Another aspect of A-level media was to create an animatic. This is basically an interactive storyboard. In GCSE, you have to create a storyboard on paper, and that is your planning stage. But for A-level, we had to do this, we had to create a storyboard on paper, but then we had to put it onto an iMovie. So I was allocated to take photos of each frame and upload them onto iMovie and make a short 2-minute film out of this, which would replicate our finished product. The final aspect of A-level media was to create a Wordle. This was before all the creative stage of our film. We had to take influences from different slasher films and all the research we had done, and to create a thing called a Wordle, which we did online, and this is my Wordle. Looking back at your preliminary task, what do you feel you have learned in the progression from it to the full product? Because I took media at GCSE, I was already familiar with some camera rules, for instance the 180-degree rule, the match on action shot and the shot reaction shot. I was also aware of certain compositional techniques like the rule of thirds and the rule of lines. During our film we didn't actually use the 180-degree rule because we didn't have a conversation in it, or we didn't use the shot reaction shot either. However, we did manage to incorporate the match on action shot during filming. This is when Chris is thrown into the light, when Ben runs out, then I run out after him. During the editing, I purposely edited it to make it look better, and this added more continuity to it, and it looked a lot smoother. There are many uses of the rule of thirds in our film, but I think the best one is the very end shot of Josh, where he is standing on the left. If you imagine the grid, he is standing on the left-hand line, and there is a big open space on the right, and I thought this would be a perfect place to have our titles in it. So this is where we ended up having our full title centre stage written in it. These are some other examples of rule of thirds shots that we used in our film, and I believe that each one of them adds good continuity to the editing and the final product. Thank you very much. I'm Elliot Wisner, and that was my evaluation for my short film, Centre Stage.